Fidelity is one of the biggest names and one of the most respected organizations in our industry. And I want to share with you why a recent article they put out was misguided. They wanted to share with you how much you needed in retirement, and I think they were off base. So in this video, I want to share with you some of the things that they pointed out to that I think are misleading, so you don't make mistakes along the way. But before we get there, click on the button. Subscribe to my channel. I have over 30 years in this business, and I want to share with you the conversations that I have with my clients so you don't make costly mistakes. So as I've said, Fidelity is one of the best names in our business, right? So many people rely on them, invest in them, and when they write an article about planning for retirement and what you need to know, then I would expect it to be better than what it was. Because from a planning perspective, there was a lot that they missed, and I'm hoping that you'll listen to me if you've read that article so you don't make mistakes. It's interesting because on this channel I've said over and over again, I think our industry's done a lousy job of preparing you for retirement. Isn't it ironic, as I take a look at this Fidelity article, how they're misrepresenting what truly goes into that recipe for a successful, fulfilling, rewarding retirement. So let's go through it, okay? So retirement is much more than just the math. It's much more than just the numbers. And I think that's one of the biggest elements that is completely missing from this particular article with Fidelity. It's not just how much you've put into your nest egg. Nobody is interested in having the most money available. What we are interested in is having a rewarding, fulfilling, enjoyable next chapter of life. So let me share with you a story that actually was the foreword for my first book. So Jean was a client at the time. She was 58 years old, I believe, and worked 37 years for the organization. You do that math, it was her only job, right? And she had come to me and she basically said, listen, I've qualified for the maximum pension that the company can give me. So I want to know if the numbers are right and I can retire. The big question people ask, right? Can I retire today? Here's the flip side of that. If you could, would you? Here's Jean's story and the rest of it. What we found out was the math showed she could. So we finished our meeting, we did the numbers, I sent her home with a homework assignment, and I said, your homework assignment is to go to HR and hand in your papers. We'll come back in a month and we'll proceed. So she comes back in a month and she sits down and she starts crying. And I said, what's going on? And what she told me was the following. In essence, she was going to be leaving the business culture, and she didn't know how to replace it. She had a reason to get up in the morning, a place to go to, breakfast she was going to have, getting dressed, being with her colleagues, talking around the bubbler about what happened last night in sports or entertainment or the world. She was a part of a community. She was a respected member that people looked up to her. She had a reason, an identity. And she was going to lose all of that when she retired. And what she realized was it wasn't just the math. It wasn't just the numbers. She wasn't ready emotionally yet to retire. And for her, it took her another 2 or 3 years before she was able to move forward and hit that button. And that's a big component of what's missing in this article. So here's a question for you. How many of you are planning and hoping to spend less than half of what you spent during your working years? Fidelity suggests that you'll be at, and they're planning for 45% of what your pre-retirement spending was. I've been in this business for over 30 years. I've never had a client who has ever planned to have a successful retirement only spending 45% of what they had been spending previously. Now, let's think about this for a moment. We have travel budgets that we probably didn't have before. We have health and medical expenses that are going up at astronomical rates that we didn't have during working years. We have gifting and wanting to see our grandkids. There's numbers of different things that as we move into retirement, we will add to that budget. We may be replacing, and we weren't going to contribute anymore to the retirement or our savings. But I've never had a client of mine in over 30 years plan to spend less than half of what they had spent during their working years. And that's what Fidelity's premise is in this article. They also claim in this article that you need to save 10 times your income by the age you're 67. So let's do the math for a moment. Let's say that you were making $120,000. 10 times $120,000 is $1.2 million. How many of you have that? The vast majority of people who are probably going to watch this channel and a part of Mass America do not have that number. Does that mean you can't retire or pursue your retirement? I think not. I know lots of people who have made a decent living and didn't have that kind of savings and still pursued a very rewarding and fulfilling retirement. The other side of that, and I've talked about this in terms of our industry doing such a poor job of educating folks who are out there preparing for retirement, is if I give you this big number and you don't have it, it's like, I don't have this number. How can I do it? I'm not going to do anything about it. What we should be sharing with you is how to save over a long period of time, how to do that investing so that slowly you can get to that number. Let me share with you how to save, not scare you with the number that you need. But I digress. So there are planning considerations out there, again, that the article doesn't address. Are you married? What kind of health situation are you in? What is your debt? What's your need for cash flow, gifting? What type of circumstances are you going to be in? Are you going to be working part-time? Do you wish to work part-time? How do you want to spend your life? All of these considerations, or I should say, none of these considerations were included in this article. So I'm going to get to one of the biggest flaws that I see in this article, but the thing I want to share with you, and I did this in my latest book, Don't Outlive Your Money in Retirement. So up in the banner, there's a 2-minute quiz. 15 questions, fill it out. I'll get to you immediately what the 3 retirement preparedness stages you are in and which one you are. I will share with you a free chapter of the book, and I'll get to you a couple of worksheets so you have some clarity with regards to whether or not you're on track for the retirement you deserve. So let me get to one of the biggest flaws I find, and it was actually addressed in a wonderful study done by Employee Benefits Research Institute, EBRI. This was a study that was done last year, and it was trying to gauge satisfaction levels, which is so much more important than how much money we have, right? Certainly you need money to retire, but how fulfilled and enjoyed and rewarding is retirement? It's not just about the numbers. And EBRI was trying to assess what satisfaction levels people had as they had been in retirement for a number of years and what was impacting those levels. And of the 2,000 people who were in the study, none of them were millionaires or multimillionaires. It was more about mass America, a lot less money than just the $1.2 million. They did break it out into 3 different buckets, a little bit higher, just the average number, and then a little bit smaller. And what they found was, in general, people had about a 70 to 80% satisfaction level in terms of their expectations in retirement and how they were pursuing it. But the people who had the lowest satisfaction levels were the people who had the highest amount of debt. And I did a recent video on this. You can check it out. Debt is a key component in retirement, which is not addressed again in the Fidelity study. And there is the difference between good debt and bad debt. So again, go back up to the video and take a look at it. But it's all a matter of how we put all of this together, how we put this into this mixing bowl where, yes, we need X amount of money, but we have to take in so many other considerations so that we are on track to pursue a very rewarding retirement. The question isn't so much, do I have enough money? That's one question. But the other question, which is as big, what do I do for the rest of my life? How do I find purpose, identity, structure, and joy? And this is where I think the Fidelity article leads us astray.